Oh, hi. Welcome to this video, which is not the video I promised you before the last video, but what I promised you in the last video. This is an interview with an incredible sound engineer, sound designer, boomer, not the ones that were born during the war, but someone who holds a microphone. Yeah, why not just jump into it? Say hello to Mia Terry. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being such an awesome person.
Thank you
And
for
sound
hosting
person,
this.
sound good. What do you say? What do you call that?
I have many titles. Production sound mixer, sound designer, boom operator sometimes, re-recording artist. I have many titles.
Sound.
I'm a sound girl. What can I say?
You're a sound
Is this
girl.
thing on, by the way? Check, mic 1, check. Yeah.
I
We're
think
good.
it is. Yeah, we're good.
Your levels look pretty good, so
Yeah, my levels are
we
always
should be fine.
damn good.
I see that.
Damn
That's
good levels.
important. It's very important.
Yeah. Mia Terry is a Seattle native. You've been studying at the European Film School in...
I did a year there in 2012 or 13, and then I graduated from the Danish Film School in Copenhagen in 2019.
So the difference between me and Mia Terry is that she's actually educated. I just figured stuff out myself.
I mean, that was my plan too, but I was lucky enough to actually get in when I applied. So
Yeah.
of course I couldn't say no.
No, you don't say no to knowledge. So that's your background, and now we're actually doing films together.
Yeah, it's
which is awesome.
always.
I kind of like it.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's always more fun to make films with other people.
Yeah, it's kind of lonely.
I know you're just getting used to that. You've been solo for so long,
Yeah.
but you know, I know it's more complicated the more people you have on set, but you can accomplish, in my opinion, larger, bigger, dare I say, more exciting productions. So
Could be. You have more people, you have more resources, you have people dedicated to the script. We have a girl there just watching for continuity. The
super
script,
important.
yeah, it's
Everything
very
is important. Yeah.
And the more people you are, the more complicated it gets, and the more important communication is.
Oh, for sure.
Because sound and the image is really important. I mean, that's basically the whole thing.
Literally, we make up, if you want to boil it down, 50%. Although I do like to say 51% is sound and 49% is picture.
I
but
actually agree on that.
I'm biased.
I've actually, in one of my earlier videos, I actually underlined that you can get away with poor image quality if the sound is great.
Exactly.
But you can't do the reverse.
No, and it's because, in my opinion, this is my theory about why. Sound is emotion. So you can change the feeling, the mood of an image just through the sound, which to me means you can sort of have the worst images, but if sound is the quickest way to raise production value and to get across the story that you're trying to.
As a musician, I can appreciate that point of view. As a photographer, I'm terribly annoyed.
Understandably so, I get it.
So, no, I totally
But I'm not
agree.
going to take it back.
No, I totally agree with that. It's very, very important. Because, I mean, you could take an iPhone and film some stuff, and if you put really professional sound on it, it would take some time for you to figure out it was recorded on this device.
Right, exactly.
So, but if the sound is really terrible, you see a lot of these videos where people like skateboard, hold the camera, and the sound is not like super good. And then you know exactly what the level of production is.
Although I do have to say, like, some situations that, and that's the thing about filmmaking, there are no rules. I would say, like, because there's a time and a place for everything. I would say, like, skateboarding videos, maybe like bad sound almost like adds to the rawness, which is maybe good in that context. But yeah, if you're trying to make sort of clean, well-produced images, the quickest way to kill that is to have bad sound.
Yeah, actually it is. Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's a very good example, a Carlsberg commercial.
Oh my God.
Where,
oh my God.
I don't know how they got this sound, but they had this slogan saying that Carlsberg is probably the best beer in the world. I don't know why they said probably. They should just brag and say it's the best beer. But that was Mads Mikkelsen saying it. But then they made sort of a recut of that video, and you only get this word probably. The worst part of that whole commercial, you took that one word, but it sounds as if they cut it out of a bad MP3 they got hold of, not the master. It just sounds horrible, and it
doesn't even sync.
No,
with
it just takes that whole commercial and dumps
like I said, quickest way to kill production value.
And also the way that a lot of advertising and commercials are produced with heavy compression, and they don't take into account that there will be added compression in later stages, and a lot of people have like smart sound on their devices, so it compresses it even more. So that's why most advertising becomes intolerable to listen to, because they try to maximize the sound and then it ends up being squashed.
Or they speed up the voices to try and fit more information into 30 seconds, and no one likes to hear a hamster telling them to buy medication.
There's some
maybe
rules.
Side effects of
and then you hear all this
long list.
Oh god, yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, terms and conditions apply. That's really funny. Let's backpedal a little bit. All right.
Let's get technical.
Yeah. Pointing the mic is a thing. And you said something really cool when we started out, which was you have to mic the sound bubble.
Right, true.
Not the mouth.
True.
So the reason why I invited you was because when we worked together on this short films, I noticed that that was pretty advanced. Normally what people do who have cameras on the level that I have, they're like, let's put this mic on top of this camera, and then they think that's cool. And when it becomes really advanced, they use a lavalier mic, and that's it. But there's a bit more to it than that.
I mean, if you're making documentary, if you're a one-man show, there's nothing wrong with doing that. There's practicalities and a time and a place for everything, so I'm not gonna say that that is wrong. But if you have the budget for it, I would highly recommend hiring someone who does sound.
I think what I would translate this into is that it's really convenient to have somebody who's working solely on sound, so you can concentrate on the image. When you have a microphone on your camera, it's easy because you get the sound you get and you sort of have to go with it, and that's it, and then you can add some sound design afterwards. The thing is, it doesn't sound as good if you have a dedicated person on the sound itself.
I mean, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. So now we got to pick Mia's brain to get all the good tips.
Let's go.
What I'm thinking about is, of course, you're educated, you have a lot of experience. Tell me a little bit about how you work. How do you, what's your approach when you get to a set? How do you mic people up?
So on set?
Yeah.
Right. So basically, I'm trained in Denmark, which is a very unique way of filmmaking. I think it has to do with how small the country is. There's more of a tradition of smaller film sets, which means there is a little bit less hierarchy. I don't want to say that because hierarchy is super important to filmmaking, so it's necessary, and of course it exists here. But I find the crews are so much smaller, which means that, for example, I've been trained in not only production sound, but also post sound, and it's quite rare that sound people will sort of do all of that. Normally you have people who just record production sound, and then you have people who are just on the post side of things. But I'm quite lucky to be trained in both, and I also really enjoy the mixture of both. I try to keep it pretty 50-50 because I love to be in the studio. I feel that's sort of when I can be most creative. But it can be very isolating in a way, and also very static. Like, it's difficult sitting all day at a computer sometimes.
Like the balance of being on set and also home and editing is kind of a nice balance.
Oh, completely. That's why I try to keep it 50-50, because then when I'm on set, that's where I get a lot of physical. It's where a lot of the social happens. So I think I think it's important for me to do both. But yeah, we can start with production sound.
Now, let's use the short films as an example. There we have like a few actors, maybe 3 or 4 at the most, and usually 1 or 2. So how would you approach, like, let's say a set where you have like one main character, maybe two main characters in that film, and then we have some people like that are passing by in that film.
For sure. So how would I structure that?
Of course, it's scene by scene. But when you pack your bag before you leave, I know that there will be some onlookers that have to like shout something to our character, and then there'll be like maybe 2 or maybe 3 characters that we have.
For sure, definitely.
So.
All right. Well, I mean, of course, it all depends. First of all, if it's a larger production, I will have an assistant, which is my boom operator. If it's a lower budget, then I will do both. So let's say it's the context of a lower budget. A lot of it has to do with prioritizing, because as one person, suddenly it becomes a lot to have to mic all the actors, as well as keeping focused on the preparations. What is the image gonna do? So it's about, of course, all your main characters have to be mic'd, and when I decide who should get a mic and who doesn't, everything has to do with dialogue.
When you say you want to mic a person, then you mean you mic them on
right, putting a lav mic, microport as we call it. Those are the single mics that we put on actors, and then I have my boom microphone.
So you have like your main boom,
right, which is like a directional shotgun mic.
Yeah, and you move around with that in the scene to catch
exactly
the best sound from
exactly. So like boom, my boom mic is my my lead. That's my most important microphone. My microports are also quite important, but they shouldn't be thought of, the boom, in my opinion, should always be thought of as first priority. Microports are important for almost backup purposes, but they'll always be used if they sound good. It's the best sounds a mix between a boom and a lav mic.
My experience with lav mics is that, yeah, you can get some pretty decent sound, but often then somebody makes a point, they do some gesture and starts hitting the mic. And you're behind the camera being like, don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, and that's a big part of being a sound person, is being sort of...
That's kind of why these mics are nice to have, because people don't... I hit them, but not other people. I do it all the time.
True, but I mean, those are things you have to take into account when you're miking an actor. So it's because of that, it's very important that the actors are in their finished costume, including jewelry. Basically, I need to see exactly how the clothes are going to be, and then I can mic them up. Often they could have a bag or this stuff, and if something is disrupting, say it's a difficult outfit where there's only limited places to place it, and they also want a bag, that's a conversation I'll have with costume to find some compromise. Oh, can they have it over one shoulder? Can we have it a little bit higher? Can I tape this jewelry inside so it doesn't hit, you know?
Also, your problem is that when you do interviews, it's not a problem, you can see the mic, but when it's fiction.
Right, I have to hide them as well. Yeah. So there's many things that go... Placing microports on actors is a huge technique, and a lot of people think... how do I explain this? Like, oh, it has to do always with the placement. And yes, of course, there's optimal placements. But what I have found is that it mainly has to do with the material of the clothing you're working with. Because that is arguably the biggest challenge that can be.
Yes. Don't make...
And then, of course, hiding them. That can also be...
Textiles can be very noisy.
Issue. So, it takes practice and a lot of experience. And that helps with knowing where I'll place it, how to hide it. But again, I won't know what the material's like until I try to place it and check and listen. And sometimes it can take a few adjustments, finding different places, but when you find it, you're good to go. So
your gear, you rent gear for your projects, or you have access to your own, or how?
I don't have my own, and that's for multiple reasons, but when I get hired, then it's up to production to also hire me equipment. I have my preferences, so I have contacts that I will contact to make sure I get the equipment I want, and if not, then I'll let them know what I want.
it's a pretty nice way to do it because then you're not stuck to your own stuff.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to have my own stuff eventually. It's just because I do so much 50-50 with being on set and post right now that I'm sort of in between each side to invest in. But of course, I would love to have all my own setup eventually.
All this stuff.
I know what I would want already, so.
Yeah. The problem is when you're like low budget like me, you just tend to buy a lot of cheap stuff, but then over time you find out that it's maybe better to invest.
Oh.
So you invest in, in the top level stuff.
Oh, that's to me, that's everything. It doesn't mean you can't make a genius recording with a little Zoom recorder, but if you're a production recordist on set, you need the best equipment. And it's not because that's just the standard, it's because of the technicalities, and the sound devices have the best limiters, the DPA lavs have, you know, the best sound. Yeah, it's like, it does make a difference. It's not just because...
I think the DPA, which was once called Balenciaga, have maybe, I think they have the lowest noise level on the planet. I
mean, if we're talking...
You talked about another planet
if
that was also good. Spirit or what was
No, if we're talking shotgun mics, Schultz, the blue one. Those who know, you know. Those are by far my favorite shotgun mics. DPA 4017 is very close runner-up. If we're talking lav mics, microports, by far the DPA 4060s, although now they have the 6060s, which are even better, and it's because they are even smaller than the 4060s, and they're so small that I have even mic'd in button-down shirts where it sits right behind the button.
That's
you can loop it through the buttonhole.
Yeah, they're really good at
it's
the
amazing.
small mics.
You can loop it through the buttonhole.
Yeah, they're really good at
it's
the small
amazing.
mics.
Yeah.
I have a story about once when I used the DPA lavalier mic for a guy who had a talk. What I didn't know was that there was a Q&A afterwards. So I hadn't mic'd anything in the audience. But this guy was like a French guy, so he didn't talk much and he didn't make sounds. And I was filming this on a broadcast camera, and I just had him mic'd up directly to the camera. But what happened was that when I was in post and people were asking in the audience, I just could take this DPA and just turn it up, and there was zero noise.
Exactly.
And just turn it down again, and I was mind blown by this incredible, and it was just like this super tiny mic.
And that's why microports are so important. Even though my boom mic is my lead, and that should be your main priority, but I'm hesitant to say that because that doesn't mean that lav mics are less important, if that makes sense.
Let me quote. There's this company called Singer, who makes rebuilds Porsches, like a retromod Porsches. And they have this saying on the wall that says, everything is important.
I mean,
everything is
so
important.
You were asking me about how I prioritize who to mic, and what I'll do is...
Did I ask you that?
Yeah, you did earlier. And you asked me earlier how I prioritize miking actors on set. And what I'll do is I'll look at the scene we're shooting, I'll do a script breakdown. Basically, I'll see who has dialogue. And often people think, oh, this extra just has one line, but one line is just as important as 100 lines. So anyone who has a line, I'll try to get a mic on. Of course, if I'm the only sound on set, I'm also limited to time and how much. So of course, the main actors first.
That's like the car analogy again. Like you, most often are just on the gas pedal.
Okay.
But you're also often on the brake, but not nearly as much. But the brakes are way more important than the gas.
Sure.
So it's like priority is like everything is important.
Of course, scenes where people are naked or have minimal clothing, then they can't have a lav mic on. And so in that case, you just have to be sure you get it good on the boom. But that's often, the boom is better anyways, so that's fine. It just means like...
Man, some tape
you just don't have the safety.
Some cracks and some human colored tape.
What?
No, that was a really bad joke. You can't mic up people with lav mics on a naked body. Depends on.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. So it depends on the shot, and it depends on how technical we want to get. Of course, I've done quite a few shots.
I just tried to bring us out in a bad place.
Yeah, but let me explain. So, like, if No?
No, just go ahead. This is actually a thing.
I mean, yeah. I've spent my past week I'm on a shoot right now with minimal clothing, quite difficult outfits to mic up. And if I can't get a microphone on them, then if that character is off screen, I'll stick a mic on the outside of their clothes, or if they have their back in that shot, then I can have a mic on front. So really, like, you have to work with the shot a lot. You have to work with angles a lot.
That's also the thing with the bigger productions. There's a lot of breaks because you have to prepare for the next thing. It can be in a series of shots. You don't just move around. You have to reset.
Yeah,
do a lot of new things.
Right. So I'll often communicate a lot with the DOP and ask, like, you know, whose shot is this, or like, will we see below here? You know, I'll ask them, and because of that, then I can get away with putting a mic where you would, because of the angle that they're in, you can't see it, or etc.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
Yeah.
And now to the super nerdy stuff. Your gear,
Yay!
the nuts and bolts.
Woo.
Because Mia is almost as nerdy as I am.
Am I though?
I think so.
Thank you.
I think it's like going. I think with nerdy, I mean going into detail. When I was a kid, that was like a nerd was. It was like a bad word for people that had glasses and were clever.
I mean,
but
it
today
depends.
it's more high level because the nerds got rich at some point.
I mean, the only reason I laugh when you say nerd is because I'm not a gear freak in that way. Like some, like yeah. But that's the thing. Some people really go up in just the gear side, and the only reason I like gear is because it's a tool to get what I'm going creatively to achieve the result I'm after. So like, I don't think I nerd about equipment necessarily specifically, but I think naturally I've become that just because I know through experience the product I'm going for, and I know now which equipment will help me the best to get there. So in that way, that I love it, but I don't like it for itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. As an anecdotal reference, when I met Terry the first time at the first shot, I actually didn't know who you were, and I didn't know what to expect. But then you showed up and you showed me your tech bag, like with being proud of it. I was like, I'm safe.
I mean,
I'm safe with this
gear. Like, on a set, I mean, I literally call myself like I'm pregnant when I have the sound device. Like, it's my baby. It's literally my baby.
Yeah, so. Because you have this bag right in front of you.
I have this whole rig on, and I have to sit down really slow. Like
that's the thing with being the photographer and being the boomer. Boomer's not like a person born in that's as well. But
I mean, they could be. You could have a boomer.
I think they exist. Those
they still do. They're still.
The thing is, we get super good shoulders.
Yeah.
Like maybe the rest of the body is a bit off. Yeah, but shoulders, man.
Shoulders so strong.
Great shoulders, but the rest is horrible.
The rest is so weak.
Alrighty. So what I've seen you work with is like you going step by step. If you want to have a sound rig, first of all, you have to have a sound recorder, a field recorder of some sort. When I have done like film, it's only like 2 tracks, maybe 4 tracks. But you recorded way more tracks than I expected anyone to do. And it made total sense. So you have like a...
Yeah, I can explain my tracks. I mean, my first track will always be my boom mic, which will be directly plugged in to my recorder. And then I have wireless microports, and I'll have one channel for everyone who has a microport on. So that can range from 1 to however many. I would say if I'm alone on a shoot, then I would say any maximum I could work with 6 actors. That's maximum though. Normally I would say between 2 to 4 actors. After that I would need an assistant just to help with getting all that done in the amount of time. But I would say I could handle probably miking 6 people if I'm by myself. So I would say maximum, if I'm alone on a shoot, I would probably have 7 tracks max.
It's a lot of work.
And then if it's a bigger production, I have help, a boomer, an assistant who will do the miking then. I can have as many tracks as necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's also, you know, when you have a set and you have all these tracks of sound and maybe even multiple cams, then you need time code.
Oh, yeah.
We need to be able to sync. And,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Of course, the clap is one way to get it, but time code also gives you the help that you can figure out what clip belongs to what.
Yeah, time code and file naming is quite important, and that's why using a clapperboard is also important. It's of course it's a good backup for sync in case your time code drifts or fails you. But it's also on the clapboard is written the scene, the shot, the take, and that's what I will file name my sound recording. So again, if the sync doesn't work, then at least you can match the files and have a place to begin, or else it's.
And then you have to sort of
impossible.
reconstruct the whole thing afterwards, because often the sound you record on set is just a tiny part of the whole sound design, where like footsteps and.
Right. Yeah, I would say on set I'm pretty much only going after dialogue. That's my main priority, and there's often not time to have any other priority. Of course. If I do have time, then yeah, I love to get good, what's it called, product or just sound from location, because
when you do documentary, that's a big thing.
I mean, it's very important in fiction as well, but it's just again, time is often the biggest issue you're battling on set. So what we always say is dialogue is king, and then anything after that is sort of luxury.
Yeah, it's like when I recorded this film I made in Nepal. It was very important for me to get the atmosphere and the sound, because the sound in Nepal is so different.
Exactly, and stuff like that. And it's like you also have to be aware of: are you in a unique location? How will these sounds be difficult to recreate? And if they are, then yes, always record. I mean,
but you can always.
But that's also with things that aren't unique, you know.
But ambient sound, you can always record it. You don't have to do it while you're shooting the scenes.
Oh no, ambient sound is better to do it after, because often, again, on set, many people are there, things could disturb. So if you're recording room tones and things like that after, I would go to set maybe over the weekend or that night when no one's there, because then. Yeah,
it's also the thing is when you're recording anything, not all the people on set understands what you're doing.
Well, no, that's part of being a sound person is sort of taking on the fight.
So you're not so social because you go off and you record.
While I'm
sound.
Listening.
The problem with stuff is that when you are not sound aware, there's these aperture lights that are really nice, but they have fans in them. Everything that makes noise is just the worst. Generators,
like they're, again, I would say...
Also like air conditioning.
Yeah, I would say, honestly, my job is like 80% troubleshooting, or like sort of like... working with different departments to minimize obstructions for me. I
remember when I did the Camera Punk movie in 2019, so many places I had to ask people in Asia to turn off the air conditions.
Right.
Because it made way too much noise.
Right.
And they were like, oh no.
Yeah, but
because it gets hot.
Exactly, but that's a big part of my job too. It's sort of like, yes, it'll make things inconvenient maybe for other departments, and everything kind of is a collaboration and can be a compromise. And sometimes, I have to compromise. Sometimes they do. It's figuring out what's the best solution for everything. That's part of my job, is also learning how to, I guess, not care about how annoying it is, how I've been on shoots. If you want to hear a funny story, there were a lot of scenes on beaches, and we're in Denmark where they love windmills, and there's windmills all over the beaches. And when these things are on, bless you.
Oh my God.
Bless your heart.
Oh God, oh shit.
You okay? Do you need to take?
It always comes in threes. It always comes in threes when I sneeze.
Anyways.
Are you wet now?
What?
No, I didn't. Like,
no.
Spray around.
What was I saying? So I was on a shoot last year where, there was windmills all over the beaches. There, when those things are on, it's so loud.
Yeah.
I couldn't even hear any of the, with headphones and everything, I couldn't even hear what I was recording. So basically we asked production, can you call and figure out how to get these windmills shut off? And production didn't want to do it. They finally, after 3 times asking, they call the windmill company. I don't even know how. And they found out it would cost 1,000 kroners, which is a couple $100 basically, to shut these windmills off for 1 hour. And they didn't want to do it. And so we said to them, okay, but it costs around 15,000 kroners for ADR. So you can either pay less now and turn off those windmills, and then they did. Yeah. And that's the thing, as a sound person, because you're the only department who's working independently. The only time I work with other departments is if there's kind of a problem, like if I'm obstructing the light, if the boom is casting shadows, reflections, if costume is, it's only when there's sort of an issue that I work with other departments. Otherwise, I'm completely independent. And because of that, a lot of people don't understand what a sound person is doing on set, and they don't understand, why do we need to spend a couple $100 of our budget to turn off these windmills for an hour? Oh, probably because it's about 10 times more expensive to do the voice dubbing afterwards. So if you can show sort of, if you can explain why it's important to get the sound on location, then often people are much more willing to take on the fight with you. But I would say, as a sound person, the most important thing is, yes, try to get other people with you on the fight, but be prepared to take up that fight alone. Yeah,
it's kind of funky because that is almost for everything. You always have to explain people, you got to do it this way, or else...
With sound?
Else you have a problem, not just with sound, but with everything.
Yeah, but I would say even more with sound, and I think it's because...
if somebody says,
well, it's because people,
let's fix it in the mix...
No,
you have to have a different contract.
It's like
for the editing.
The spider or was
because
it Batman meme, like, shut up, Rob.
Every
fix it in post.
Every time you do a shortcut, it costs in the other end. So everybody who's working right here, they're just loading work on your shoulders if you're in post.
Right, exactly. But that's also the thing. It's not only more work to fix it after, it's also not always possible to fix it after. And even if it is,
like the
it's very unlikely it will be better, even if you can't, because... And that's why it's so important to always get the best location sound as you can, because it's not just because it's cheaper, it's because the actors, the emotions are real in the moment, it's because the acoustics are accurate, it's for so many reasons. And yes, in the end, you'll spend more time, more resources, everything to recreate that in the studio.
I have a suspicion that you're very much like me when you watch movies and suddenly you hear one sentence.
Oh, yeah.
That was done in post.
But you know what that tells me? They didn't record their ADR properly, because well-recorded ADR, before you even EQ anything, it already fits in.
Or they missed a line.
That's the thing. If you don't record it properly, you can spend forever trying to match reverbs, and even with everything, you could even record your own impulse responses, But if it's recorded wrong, you'll never ever get that to gel, just like the Carlsberg commercial.
Yeah, and then it just drops out, and you just...
And then again, your production value. Woo.
And every normal
quickest way to kill.
The fun thing is that like a normal person who's not like you and me, who like very observant on this stuff and know, this is that's what happened. Normal people won't notice it, but they will definitely feel it.
But they'll be like, something was weird, it just didn't, that was odd. It'll stick out. And that's also the kind of the irony of sound, is that if it's good, you don't notice it, because that's sort of the point. It should feel natural. It should be something to just bring you along. It should set the mood, but not tell you how to feel. And it's a fine line, because
it's the sound that drags you into the...
Yeah, and it's actually kind of a known thing for post for sound designers, especially composers. But it's usually me, because I work with composers a lot, and I'll be mixing their music into the film. So it's sort of a known thing in my world that with music in a film, if you're unsure when in a scene to come in with music, always come in too late than too early. Yeah. And that's because if you come in too early with music, which is the emotion, then suddenly the audience will feel like you're telling me how to feel because the character hasn't felt that yet. So you have to wait till the character has that feeling, and then you can come in with the music or the sound or whatever it is, because then you've already, the emotion. You're not being forced that emotion upon you. It's just you're going with it now, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense.
Okay.
I think
good. It makes sense to me, but I don't know how.
Yeah, that's why why you're here. That's why we're asking you questions.
Right, true.
But I'll put a reference to some of the stuff that Mia did in the description down here. So remember to unfold it, show more, and then you can push the links and see what she does. Like
unfolding your tracks.
Yeah,
after you've ingested the material.
That's a very internal joke, I think. But most of you get it because we are like nerds talking to people who have an interest in this subject. All right.
I want to know how many here are sound nerds and how many are camera nerds.
I think they're mostly camera nerds.
I think so too, but I want to hear. I want to hear who are the sound nerds. Raise your hand. Let's see in the comments. Yeah, please comment below if you're a soundy and not a camera. Yeah,
but that'd probably be both, I guess, because you tend to discover that sound is really important.
Oh yeah, but if you're smart.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. As a on an end note, can you tell us a little about your favorite gear?
Yes, always.
Super nerdy.
Oof. Again, it depends on the situation. Yeah, I would. Okay. Because it's honestly, like I explained earlier, it's like gear has never been my main focus. So it's kind of been a journey for me about like getting into gear. And now, yes, I am a nerd about it, but maybe for different reasons than most.
Let's start from the beginning.
But exactly, I was going to explain my journey.
What bag?
Oh my God, K-Tech all the way. Like people love Orca, but I'm not going to. No shade to Orca, but I'm a K-Tech girl through and through.
K-Tech girl.
Yeah, K-Tech harness, the small for those ladies or smaller people out there.
That's actually pretty important because you have trouble finding that one.
Yeah,
because you have to wear a harness to carry that very heavy bag, so you don't get a sore back.
Right, and for example, when I was going to the film school, they didn't even have any harnesses that fit me. So I, for many years, had been so used to using harnesses that were too large. And finally, when I got my own K-Tech size small harness, I was like, oh my God, like this is how it's supposed to feel. And it will do wonders for your back problems.
So K-Tech.
So get a harness that fits. K-Tech is my favorite for bags, the Stingray stuff, like that's my favorite bag stuff.
So then we have the recorder.
Yeah. I was educated kind of old school on a Sound Device 788, which is now known as sort of like the dinosaur. Because Sound Device they're just obviously the best. And they have so many great versions. When I was first starting out way back in the day, I would always be very like, yeah, I just want my big, 788 and da-da-da. But now I'm like, if I'm out there alone, the MixPre series is fantastic. I think the MixPre 10 is the best for like a small setup, but still enough tracks for me to have 6 actors mic'd and boom. It's the best medium kind of pack. If you want to be for you, I guess if you're a single, if you're doing like quick documentary, really rock and roll, like fast, the MixPre 3, if you're just going to be booming, doing minimal miking, but that's quite limited in case. So
it's like Sound Devices are the king.
Yeah, always. So I would say MixPre 10 is probably my favorite, like to cover the most. But if I'm doing right now, I'm doing a shoot where I'm using Sound Device 888. And all those series are fantastic. Of course, when you can have Bluetooth, then I can run Wingman, the app from my phone, which makes file naming, renaming tracks a lot quicker. Because sometimes the interface, the menus can be kind of annoying if you just have the tiny scroll buttons. But they're making it more accessible. So yeah, definitely mix pre's, the 888 is cool. And then yeah, when it comes to shotgun mics, Ships all the way. Ships.
How do you spell that?
SCHOEPS. Yeah, like I said earlier, the DPA 4017 is another great, a great boom mic. And then yeah, DPA always for microports. The 6060s, the new little ones are incredible. I use my Sennheiser headphones always. Those aren't exactly the kind I use, but close. Those would be fine. Though, I mean, I would say with headphones, yeah, I mean, there's people have preferences. I just think Sennheiser makes the best. I also like that it doesn't have a coil cable, because that can also be annoying on set. And then when it comes to actual microports, Audio Limited is really great, but the interface is there is no interface. Like I really don't like the interface, I guess. They're really counterintuitive. You just have that little remote. There is no interface. So
that's why I have a problem with Sony.
Yeah, like audio
interfacing is so weird.
Right. I would say like Audio Limited arguably sounds the best, but often you'll find VCCom being the most used, which are totally fine. I don't have anything against.
So now we're talking transmitters.
Yeah, we're talking transmitters, receivers now for lav mics, microports.
Yeah.
VCCom is kind of the most like worldwide standard, and I don't have anything against them, but like they're fine.
But
honestly,
let's stick to what you want.
Yeah. Like I said, it's difficult. I think VCCom are the most intuitively to use. I think Audio Limited sounds the best, but personally, I've only in the past year, I've actually gotten really into electrosonics. And I just like the setup. They have some cool wireless attachments, so I could have a wireless boom with them. They just have really cool different accessory, like just different models for different uses, different things. I like the interface. I don't know. To me, I've gotten just really into electrosonic. Maybe it'll change later, but at the moment, they're my favorite. Maybe, probably.
Then to one of the more things we never talk about. How do you power all this stuff?
Smart batteries.
When you say smart batteries, what are they?
They're just these external DC, they're called smart batteries.
Just smart batteries. You can run your pack.
Well, what I mean is, oh God, see, this part is bad. We should cut all this. I'm just like, with microports, like there's not really an easy way to get around it. They run on AA's. Yes, I always switch at least once, maybe twice a day if we're shooting with actors all day. So yeah,
But that's it. I guess we got around the whole thing.
I think. I mean, I could go on forever.
I guess your boomstick is a carbon boom.
Yes, true. And I could even get into that. I mean,
no, I think we just
they have internal wired booms, But
I guess this whole interview really, framed a lot of the issues you can have, and also
I hope
that
so.
It's actually pretty complicated, and not only complicated in the recording thing, but also the environment.
One of the most important is that you're familiar technically. You can troubleshoot if you have mic interference. You know how to fix that. It's about being flexible, fast, knowing how to re-rig what things can be used for. If I don't have comms with me, an easy way, you can switch transmitters and receivers to be a comm. Melhura system. We call them comms in the States. I don't know what else. Melhura. I always just say Melhura here. Anyways,
yeah,
comms.
But the audience is not Danish.
Yeah, we'll try. Comms is what they call comms. Yeah.
Your communication.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of course, it's the technical side, but then yes, the other side is being very aware of your surroundings, noticing if there's generators on, lights that are too distracting, keeping a quiet set. And not only that, then a lot of it is also technique. And as you can maybe see it from here up, I'm not the tallest, strongest person in the world. And that, I think when I was first starting out, especially as a boom operator, well, actually pretty much just as a boom operator, I was very self-conscious about that, because all the boom operators I'd seen have been very tall, strong men usually, or just tall people. And that's not me. But once I started getting on some sets and booming shots that with Steadicam operators, one shot, handheld, with a lot of blocking, a lot of movement, I quickly realized I was really good at that. And that has helped me, I guess, also be more comfortable on set and feel confident, because I realized, like, being small, I'm not the best at those very long, wide shots where I have to stand like a tree forever, but I can fit into any bathroom, any small hallway shot. Yep. I can do any Steadicam. So being small is actually, can be a great thing as a boomer. So you shouldn't let your size hold you back.
I guess that was a pretty nice way to end this interview. All right. That was really interesting. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate it. I hope our audience appreciates it.
I hope so too.
Well. There's a lot of info there.
I mean, this is nothing. I could go on forever. So let us know if you want a part 2. I could go more in depth about any of it.
Maybe if you have some very specific questions about sound design and sound production and sound recording.
Right.
Put it in the comments and then we'll check it out.
For sure.
See if we can make a video about that. I'm pretty sure you can say something about it.
I could always say something about something.
I have no doubt.
I hope you all enjoyed this.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. I think so. I enjoyed it. I'm happy I didn't have to do all the talking for once.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to take that burden off of you.
Yes, you definitely did.
And ramble forever.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I had to sort of pull the handbrake once in a while.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's cool. It's great. So,
all right.
Thank you very much.
Until next time.
And see you next time. Yeah, that's some sort.
Is it on? Is it on?
I think so. The light's on.
Okay.
Oh, you're
just kidding.
All right.